So we begin with King Indradyumna. This took place many thousands of years ago. King Indradyumna was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu in Avantipur, near Kashmir. A visiting devotee arrives at his court and informs him about an incarnation of Lord Vishnu named, anybody know the name? No? Yes, that's right, Neelamadhava. His name is Neelamadhava. So, and informs him about an incarnation of Lord Vishnu named Neelamadhava, who was extremely beautiful. King Indradyumna sends Brahmins all over India to find him, but all are unsuccessful except one, and his name is Vidyapati. And he stays at the home of a pig farmer, a Shubra, named Vishvasu. So, this is we have King Indradyumna, and he has sent a number of Brahmins all over India to look for this Neelamadhava. So Vishvasu encouraged, the pig farmer, he encourages his daughter Lalita to give the Brahmin hospitality, and sometime after requests Vidyapati to marry her, which he does. Vidyapati noticed something strange. Every night, Vishvasu would leave the home and return the next day at about noon, scented with camphor, musk, and sandalwood. He asks his wife why, and although her father has ordered her to keep his secret, she instead revealed that her father goes to a secret place to worship who? Yes, Neelamadhava. Vidyapati asks his wife to persuade her father to take him to see the deity. And although he initially refuses, she pesters him enough so that he consents. Lalita binds some mustard seeds in Vidyapati's cloth. Vishvasu, the reason for that will be made clear in a few seconds. Vishvasu blindfolds Vidyapati so that he doesn't see the route which takes him to Neelamadhava. He wants to keep that a secret. He looks at the Neelamadhava as his own personal deity, and he doesn't want anybody messing around. He wants him for himself, and that's it. But he's in for some very, very suspenseful news shortly. So Lalita binds some mustard seeds in Vidyapati's cloth. Vishvasu blindfolds Vidyapati, takes him to a wooded area, and on the way, Vidyapati scatters the seeds on the ground to eventually create mustard plants. So his wife was very shrewd. She took these mustard seeds, just put it in the corner of his cloth, and then as they walked along, what he did is he opened the knot and let the seeds slowly come out, and they would stay there, and people would walk on the seeds, and animals would walk over the seeds, and eventually the seeds, of course, because being pushed down into the ground and being watered by the rains, would eventually sprout. Upon reaching Neelamadhava, Vishvasu unblindfolds Vidyapati, who, seeing the deity's beauty, becomes ecstatic, dancing and offering prayers. Leaving Vidyapati with the deity, Vishvasu goes to collect roots, fruits, and forest flowers and returns to worship Neelamadhava. As he does, the deity says to him that for a long time I accepted simple worship from you, but now I want royal service from King Indradyumna. Vishvasu becomes afraid that Vidyapati will reveal to the king where the deity is and will then be denied the opportunity to serve him. He figured that King Indradyumna would be the one serving him. To prevent this, he binds Vidyapati in the house. But Lalita, Shubra's wife, pleads with her father to release her husband, which he finally does after some time. Vidyapati returns to Avantipur and informs the king of his discovery. Then the king, very ecstatic, with a company of soldiers, follows Vidyapati, who is guided by the mustard seeds to the spot where the deity was supposed to be. But Nilamadhava, he was gone. The king, suspecting that Vishvasu had hidden the deity, arrested him. But a voice in the sky ordered him to release Vishvasu and instead build a temple on top of Nila Hill, where the king would eventually see the deity, but in a different wooden form called Daru Brahman. The king established a town called Ramakrishnapura and constructed the temple there, about 100 feet beneath the ground and 200 feet above it. On the roof, the king placed a round pinnacle, and on top of it, he placed a disc like we have here on the top of our temple here. It's a chakra. He had the temple decorated in gold. The king then prayed and invoked Lord Brahma to appear there to consecrate the deity, set it aside as a holy place, a person, when he would appear. But Lord Brahma said that such was not in his power because the Lord would manifest and install himself. But he would place a flag on top of the temple, and anyone who would see it and offer his prostrated obeisances would easily become liberated. King Indradyumna waited a long time, but the deity did not appear. Discouraged, the king decided to give up his life by fasting. So he lay down on a bed of kusha grass and went to sleep. But the Lord spoke to him in a dream, telling him not to be anxious because the Lord would come floating in from the sea in his wooden form as Daru Brahman at the place called Banki Muhan. The next day the king, with a company of soldiers, went there and saw the block of wood lying on the shore. It was marked with 4 emblems, if you will. It had a disc, it had a club, a lotus, and a conch shell, which are the four items that Lord Vishnu carries. So when he or his soldiers, or even some elephants, tried to move it, they couldn't even budge it. But that night in a dream, the Lord ordered the king to bring his previous servant Vishvasu and the Brahmin Vidyapati and place each of them on one side of him. Then he should place a golden chariot in front of the wooden block. After this was done, the king started a kirtan, chanting the Lord's holy names. He next grabbed hold of the block and prayed for the Lord to mount the chariot. Shortly after, the Lord was easily moved onto it, which was then taken to an appointed place. The king next called expert sculptors to carve the deity. But as soon as they tried, their chisels broke into pieces. Finally, Vishvakarma, the architect of the demigods, disguised as an old Brahmin, appeared. Named Ananta Mahana, he promised to carve the deity in 21 days if the king promised to let him work in complete solitude, with the doors closed. During that time, the king promised. Before the sculptor began, he engaged the other artists in making 3 large chariots. Then the temple doors were closed and the sculptor started. After 14 days had passed, the sculptor's chiseling sound stopped. And the king wondered why. Against his minister's advice, but under his queen's urging, he decided to investigate. So he opened the doors and entered the temple. He not only could not find the sculptor there, but observed that the one holy block of wood was now manifest in 3 forms. And the forms were incomplete, having no fingers and toes. Because the king had opened the doors 7 days too soon, he considered himself a great offender, blaming himself for the deity's lack of hands and feet. He felt that because he opened the doors too soon, figured that was why they had no hands and feet. So he decided to give up his life, lay down on a bed of kusha grass, and began fasting. In the middle of the night, the Lord appeared to the king in a dream. He mentioned that it was he himself, Lord Jagannath, who had from within the king's heart urged the king to open the temple doors 7 days too soon. So the Lord was the culprit. This was to uphold the eternal words of the Vedic scriptures, such as the Shvetavattara Upanishad 3:19, which declare that Lord Jagannath has no hands and no feet. The Lord also said that if the king should occasionally desire to serve him in opulence, he may do so by decorating him with gold or silver hands and feet. Sometimes you will notice, not often, but on very special occasions, you will notice that our Lord Jagannath has gold hands and gold feet. The Lord further said that every year there should be a chariot festival in which he, his brother Baladev, and sister Subhadra should each ride on one of the 3 chariots that had been constructed. The Lord further said that the descendants of the Shabra, Vishvasu, should, generation after generation, serve him as Dayatas. Now the Dayatas are the persons, the men, who transport Lord Jagannath, Lord Balaram, and Lady Subhadra from inside the temple to the chariots outside. The descendants of Vidyapati's Brahmin wife should perform his deity worship and be called pujaris. And the descendants of Vidyapati's Shabari wife, Lalita, should cook his food and be called suyatas. The king then asked the Lord if he may keep the temple doors open all day long except for 3 hours, so that people may have easy access to him. He also asked if the Lord's eating may go on all day. And I think they serve 56 meals, if I'm not mistaken. And he further asked if he himself could have no descendants, so that no one in the future might claim the Lord's temple as his own property. Lord Jagannath approved of all these requests. Then the king asked why the Lord generally had to appear without hands and feet. And the Lord said that the king would discover the reasons shortly. When the king awoke from sleep, Narada Muni appeared before him and explained the mystery of why the Lord had no hands and feet as he had witnessed it, as Narada had witnessed it. One day, when Narada Muni was in Dwarka, he entered one of the palace chambers and saw Subhadra, that's Lady Subhadra, that's Krishna's sister, Lady Subhadra guarding a door that led into another chamber. Subhadra explained to him that in that other room some ladies were discussing Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. They had asked Subhadra to guard the door and prevent Krishna from entering. They felt that if he heard the pastimes they were discussing, he might begin to feel intense separation from the Vrindavan residents and thus become very agitated, which they didn't want to cause. However, Krishna soon entered the room and tried to enter the other chamber that Subhadra was guarding. But she refused to let him inside, stating that some ladies were having a private conversation. Nonetheless, Krishna remained by the door, eavesdropping. As he listened to his Vrindavan pastimes, he became so overwhelmed with divine ecstasy that his hands and feet withdrew completely. Krishna lost his feet and hands. Then Balaram approached the door, and as he overheard the ladies' conversation, the same thing happened to his hands and feet. And finally, Subhadra had also been listening to the discussion. Her hands and feet also disappeared. Narada Muni then begged the Lord to bless the world by revealing himself in his most striking feature of ecstasy. And Lord Krishna agreed. After hearing this explanation, King Indradyumna felt very satisfied. Goddess Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, soon appeared and advised the king to have Lord Jagannath painted black, Lord Balaram white, and Lady Subhadra saffron. This the king did. Lord Brahma then arrived with many demigods, and he ordered that the 3 deities be installed on the 3 chariots. Next, as the demigods held a tremendous kirtan, they took hold of the ropes attached to the chariots and pulled the carts along the wide roadway. This was the first Ratha Yatra festival. Ki Jai! Okay. So it's a very, very holy act. It's not just pulling ropes, and it's not just pulling a cart. What we're doing is doing some service, because the Lord is riding on the carts, 3 carts, and he's looking out at the scenery, at all the devotees, at the kirtans. And as we will see exactly what happens. And what does this festival mean? It symbolizes the desire of the gopis, the milkmaids of Vrindavan, to draw Krishna back to that scenic village so that they could once again engage in loving devotional service to him and thereby increase his divine pleasure. But what is the benefit bestowed by this festival? The Narada Purana states that if people just see the deity riding on the chariot, they are easily able to come to the spiritual world. In this way, Jagannath is liberating everyone who is fortunate enough to see him. Note, the construction of the current Jagannath temple in Puri was completed in 1174 AD by the Oriya ruler, King Aranga Bhima Deva. So that's the end of the basic story. I've just basically given you the essence of this. So, as it is saying, one can know me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. When one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So here we see the easiest, simplest way in which we can gain the mercy of Krishna. As I said a few moments ago, pulling the rope is not merely pulling a rope. It is really doing a service to the Lord and pulling him along the way, the roadway, so that he can see all of the panorama of persons and places and things going on. Because normally Lord Jagannath, he stays inside. So now here we see the mercy, the compassion, the love of Lord Jagannath coming to the people, coming to everyone. And that's what we are doing. We are assisting Lord Jagannath in his desire to want to spread the mercy of his love, of his kindness, of his sweetness to everyone, anyone. And therefore, there is a great blessing which comes with that. The blessing comes from within. Lord Jagannath is also within the heart of everyone in the form of super soul. So what does he do? He helps us to feel very uplifted, very joyful, very peaceful, very loving. When we feel those transcendental qualities, It's very difficult to get angry. One just feels very happy, satisfied, with an intense desire to serve Krishna. And the more we serve Krishna with love and kindness and sweetness and appreciation and gratitude, when we serve the Lord in that manner, again, He appreciates that. And He gives us His mercy by filling us with ever-increasing bliss in the heart, which spreads throughout the body and ultimately results in various types of spiritual ecstasies. These ecstasies are so intense, so grand. We read about them in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Some of those devotees, they were filled or flooded with such ecstasy they couldn't stand up. They fell down on the floor. But that was not enough. They started rolling around on the floor. And they would shout, ah, 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 all kinds of sounds and noises. Because their whole bodies had become so inflamed or intoxicated with the love of God. So if anyone and everyone here is striving and wants to achieve pure love of God, here's an easy way to do it. There's a lot of services being offered. Already it was mentioned. The flower garlands need to be made. And then the carts, as I said, will be pulled. And then there are services at the booths. Some of those booths will be manned or womaned, however you want to think about it. But I don't want to be accused of prejudice against women. So anyway, what will happen is that you get the opportunity to do some service. And there are lots of services there. So, but when you serve, just don't serve. Just don't put things here, put things there, pull things here. No, when service is done, it should be done in the mood, in the feeling that we are being given an opportunity. We are being given a grace by the Lord to grow closer to Him, to feel love for Him, and to enable others whom we may be connected with, our mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and children. They will feel that love, and they will continue to grow and develop in Krishna consciousness just by the love that you are blessing them with as a result of getting the blessings from Lord Jagannath. So this is a very auspicious occasion. I'm sitting here for no other reason than to inform everyone that when we serve, we have to serve with our whole heart, with our whole soul. We have to serve in a mood of thankfulness, in a mood of affection. And when we serve in that mood, it's not merely service, but it's pure devotional service. If we don't have those feelings that I just mentioned, then it can just be service. And many will just do service. Well, I'm just helping the temple like that. That's not it at all. Rather, the temple is helping us by providing this festival that we can pull the chariots of Lord Jagannath and gain the blessings of Lord Jagannath. So it's a great, wonderful, glorious opportunity for all of us. And we should be very thankful. Just as we should be thankful, for example, we have nice weather here. We have nice sunshine. We have water. We have cold water. We have hot water. We have food and clothing and shelter, health, strength, guidance, protection. All these are coming from Krishna. So as a result, we should not take them for granted. We should not take them casually or cheaply. They are coming as a result of His love. And He can withdraw them. He can take them away whenever He wants to. But when we show our gratitude, when we show our love, when we express our feelings of appreciation, He does not do that. Rather, He increases our bounty. He increases the love that He pours upon us. And He enables us to feel more and more and more Krishna conscious. The result being that in our family life, or our personal life, in our business life, our school life, every part of our life goes better because Lord Jagannath is manifesting, working in a thrilling way in our heart, our body, and throughout our entire life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any, we still have time for questions. Anyone who has a question, please raise your hand and I'll call you. Everybody, yeah, anybody want to get the microphone so the people online, they can hear it as well. Sorry to keep you. It'll be just a second, it's all there, right. Thank you, Bhakti Brad. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a beautiful class. I was just wondering if you have been to Jagannath Puri for the Rath Yatra festival, and what are some of the differences between our Rath Yatra and theirs? The question is, in Jagannath Puri, the Rath Yatra, what's the difference between their Rath Yatras and the ones we hold in LA?
From a material point of view, there are many differences because, first of all, they have at their festival, they have a few million people. That's the first difference there. And the people have, most of the people who are there watching it understand what the festival is about. Everything that I just talked about, they already know this. So therefore they go with the background of that knowledge. And therefore they feel very, very ecstatic and very happy that they could even get to see the deity, which is pulled. Of course, they try to pull deity. As far as the difference in the festival, they have probably more rituals than we do because they've been doing it for thousands of years. And the only thing they ask is that we be respectful. And also sometimes persons in the, at the sides here in Venice Beach, sometimes the people are not respectful. We find certain, what we call fanatical Christians who come and dressed as a pig, which is actually very adequate for them. So they're dressed as a pig and they say, you know, you're going to hell, they're telling us. So we ignore them. We don't deal with them because we consider them pathetic. They're lost and they think that we're lost. And so we disregard. Once you pay attention to them, then they feel they have a little power, a little strength. They mean something. So those are the things. I don't think they get those over in India. So therefore, that's one of the main. But of course, they have deities that are huge, very, very big. And but bigness does not mean it gives more blessings. Blessings come as a result of the purity of your love for God. The purer it becomes, the more you surrender to the Lord. As Krishna says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path. And so Krishna rewards us not according to the size of he in the deity form, but according to how much love we're giving and how pure that love is and how we're appreciating it. Then he just keeps pouring it on. I saw another hand go up. Yes, Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when we were in Jagannath Puri last year, the pujaris tried to trick me. They said I could go into the temple and see Jagannath, and as soon as I gave them my rupees and went in, they pulled me outside.
Yeah.
And Radhanath Swami Maharaj told me, he says, as long as you see the chakra on top of the building, that's good enough. It's like seeing Jagannath. So I was wondering if possibly you could touch base on that.
Well, all I'll say is what I already said in the reading, and that is what Lord Brahma said, that anyone who sees the chakra and looks at the chakra and pays obeisances to the chakra will be liberated. He doesn't say in how many years or how many days. Everything depends very much on the purity of our love, the intensity of our love, the appreciation of that love. So that's most important. And you can develop pure love by praying to the Lord. Praying, my dear Lord, I have very little love for you. I don't feel much for you. And that's because I'm so low. I'm so low. I have no depth of what you're doing for me. So Krishna will then give you some nice experiences. If you're not feeling any love for him, then he can put you into a very, very disastrous situation where you're almost dying. And you cry out, Krishna! And then suddenly help comes and you're out. And you say, wow, I'd be dead if Krishna didn't come. Okay, now you have a reason to love him. Okay, so the point is that he's helping us every moment, every second. And that's unfortunate that you had that experience, but they have a rule, they have a law, and it's not really an ethical law, but they just want to keep out a lot of the Westerners who really don't show the proper respect. So you just got caught muddled in with those who don't respect, but you do respect, but they don't know that.
Yeah, they were on the bodily conception for sure. And we were all, the brahmacharis, we were all yelling at those pujaris saying that Jagannath was watching, that we can't hide.
Right.
And thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. So that's the main point, though. But we should rather pray for those persons because they're really in great maya. They want to have Lord Jagannath, that's what's called Kanishta Adhikari. They want Lord Jagannath only for themselves. Only they should have him. Only they should worship him. Only they should love him. And only they should be benefited. This is a very small-minded mentality. But I understand that there's a lot of bargaining going on. It's been going on for 50 years at least, that we with our white bodies, we may be allowed into it at some time, not in the immediate future, but it's coming. You had something further to say on that point about being allowed in? Did they?
That was perfect.
Okay. Yeah. So, but that's not the main thing. One can be benefited. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. One can be benefited outside as well. It's not the inside. I already said it several times. What will gain the benefit? And that is the attitude. I can tell a very quick story. In Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had gone down to South India, and he had been talking to a number of persons, and then he left. He left that area, and there was a man who was near there, but he did not see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now this man had leprosy, and he had sores all over his arms, all over his shoulders, and back, and these sores were so infected that there were worms on the sores. So what would happen is the worms, they got crowded there, and they'd knock each other off, and they would fall to the ground. So he felt so small, so insignificant, so inferior, so worthless, he would pick up the worm and he would put it back in place so that the worm could continue his breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whatever he was having there. So interesting, because that was a very high degree of humility that he had. He felt he deserved that he had committed many sins in the past and should get what he was getting. So what happened is that finally he reached the area where Lord Chaitanya had been. And he asked the people there, well, I heard that Lord Chaitanya was here. Where is he? They said, well, he left about 10 or 15 minutes ago. He said, he left. And at that point, he fell down. He went into a faint. He was so eager, so intensely desiring to want to see Lord Chaitanya and touch his feet, or at least look at his face. So he fell down on the ground. But Lord Chaitanya, being omniscient, all-knowing, knew exactly what was happening. So although he was several blocks away, he came hastening back to the point, and the man was there. He was lying on the ground. So Lord Chaitanya helped him up, and then the man looked at him, and then Lord Chaitanya embraced him heavily, so tightly that the man, he hardly could breathe, but he was in ecstasy. Then they broke apart, and at that moment, the man had a different body. He was no longer afflicted with the leprosy. It was gone. He says he couldn't believe it. It was he hadn't expected that. He was happy just to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that he became very worried. And he said, well, what am I going to do? People are going, they all know that I had leprosy, and they're going to ask me, how did you get that, the benefit? How did you earn it? What did you do to receive that blessing? So Lord Chaitanya, and he said, then what will happen? I'll become very proud. I'll become puffed up. I'll think I'm great because everybody's now applauding me or coming over to me, talking to me, congratulating me. He said, what am I going to do? Because if I become puffed up, then I'll get the leprosy again. So Lord Chaitanya says, here's what you do. You chant this holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You do this night and day, and don't worry about it. You won't even know what the word pride means, and you won't even be afflicted by it. So it is very, very powerful mantra. Sometimes there's an old saying that familiarity brings contempt, or familiarity brings indifference, and that can happen because you say something over and over again, it becomes so familiar. But we should always remember that we are associating with God in the form of his name. He himself. So Lord Chaitanya says, oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Please enable me to have that attraction. So this is the Lord's beautiful prayer. It comes from the Shikshastika. So this is what we have to be thinking, that the holy name is more than just a name. It's Krishna himself. And to the degree that we have faith, to the degree that we have absorption, to the degree that we have gratitude, to that degree, Krishna will go on blessing us on and on, over and over again, until we get back home, back to Godhead. Okay? I think everybody's getting hungry now. So if you'd like to leave, if anyone has more questions, I'll be glad to answer. But for those of you who would like to leave for the temple prasadam room, you may do so. I won't feel insulted. For those who, who don't want to stay here, that's okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Bol. Yeah. Looks like nobody wants to leave. Can't believe this. Any questions? More? Yeah, here's a question. Fine. I'm sorry I kept you. I know your hand went up a little earlier. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. My question is
Good
in
and loud,
reflection.
please.
My question is in reflection of the comment of the Christian pigs, and I was wondering, since we live in a place, or we live in this planet, where there is diversity and adversity everywhere, isn't it better to see everyone as a teacher?
As a what?
A teacher of Krishna when it comes to adversity. Because Krishna is everywhere.
Hold on.
Yeah.
To see everyone as a what?
As a teacher
Teacher, go ahead.
of Krishna's way, whether positive or negative or neutral. Because
Well,
Krishna is everywhere, correct?
Tell me when you're finished with your question, then I'll
I'm
try
finished.
to answer. Okay. You're saying to see everyone as a teacher. One should see everyone as a servant of the Supreme Lord, which is our true constitutional position. That's what Krishna says we are. Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. The constitutional position of the living entity is an eternal servant of Krishna. The reason we suffer is we leave our position of servitorship. And instead of serving Krishna, we just serve our own senses, serve our minds, serve our own ego, serve our own intelligence. So, no, if we want to feel harmony, unity, then we connect with Krishna. Krishna is in everyone, and that will connect us in a peaceful way, in a kind way, in a loving way with everyone. In other words, one does not have to see someone as a teacher. He may not be a teacher. In other words, the person may be completely ignorant. So if a person is a teacher, a lot of people know I'm a teacher. So they'll ask me certain questions. And if I can't answer them, I'll say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question, but I'll try to get you to somebody who can. So I'm a teacher, but up to extent. And this other person may be a teacher up to extent. But the highest teacher, the greatest teacher who can give us the highest knowledge is the Supreme Lord and his direct personal representatives. So those are the teachers that we want to go to, because they can take us higher and higher in the scale of spiritual advancement. Okay? Next, anyone else? Okay, then everyone is excused. Thank you. You can all go to the deities and offer your respects. Thank you. Hare Krishna.